Okay, I've got my patch, I've got my palm cut. Now I need to cut the trim, which I'm just going to cut off of this length of blue leather. I guess whatever leather you use, just make sure it's soft and make sure it's not too thin. You can see it's got a bit of thickness in it. So I'll just use a pair of scissors and I try to cut it fairly straight. A long pair of sewing scissors would be good, but I don't have any. And I try to cut it around about 2 centimeters wide, something like that. Oh, hang on, something like that. I don't measure it, but I just go by eye. Too narrows makes it really difficult, but if you're a little bit wider, you can always trim it once you've sewed the trim on, and you get a nice. So there's my trim. Now you can see it's not perfectly straight. It doesn't matter because it just gets hidden anyway. Now the length is fairly important, around about 65 centimeters. If it's too long, it just gets in the way. Right, the next thing you have to do is you have to temporarily fix the palm to the kote. Now I've drawn some dots on there. Obviously these two are the ends. That's always the same. The thumb basically at the end of the thumb, down in the curved area between your thumb and your pointing finger, and then the top, I usually go a little bit off center here. So you can, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can use the bond, which is how I was shown to do it. You can put a bit of bond on each of those spots and then attach it to the kote. I prefer to put one stitch in each spot, because sometimes when you're pulling and pushing the thread, the bond will come undone and whatnot. Just a simple stitch and tie it off. And there's the kote, the palm, just roughly stitched in there, ready to go. I see that fits in there reasonably well. And we're ready to attach the trim. When attaching the trim, I always use my triangular cut leather needles because they just have so much pushing power. So obviously on the kote you're pushing through quite a thick piece of kote edge, plus the trim, plus the actual palm, so that's, you know, at least 4 bits of leather that you're going through. Now the trim, it depends on the leather I suppose, usually has a good side and a not so good side. Well, an outside and inside I suppose. You can see that. Now when you're doing the trim, you want to start by pushing the needle through the bad side, or the side that you don't want on the outside of your finished kote. So the good side is what you want on the outside. So we start from the inside, and we leave about maybe 6 mil, which will become the tail. The tails for the tails for the kote trim. So about 3 mil, I suppose. Just push it through. Yeah, just like that, see? So that's the good side, and you've come through from the bad side. Then you get your kote, where you're going to start, and so you know where you're going to start because your kote palm's there, and then you push that right through everything, and push. And then what you want to do is you want to tie that off nice and tight. Put a bit of pressure on there when you do it. You really want to get this trim in fairly tight. It makes it nice, but not too tight where you break the leather. Not the leather, the thread. And then I'll just tie that off. Tie one knot in it so it can't slip or move. Okay, so now I've got the thread coming through from the leather. I've got my trim, which the bad side is that way. You've gone down about 3mm in through here, and then what happens is you stitch all along there like that with the trim, and then once you've done that you fold it over and you end up with a nice folded edge, which becomes your beading or your trim. Okay, so let's start. So I haven't got a cameraman, so excuse my camera. Okay, so you want to start fairly close to where you've just started from. Push the needle through. And the needle comes through on this side. And then you want to fairly, on the leather side, on the palm side, you want to go, on the palm side, you want to go fairly close and push it back through again. And push it back through there, and then you always want to come about 3mm from the edge of the trim down. A bit hard to see, my camera's not focusing. And then from there, here you can go about, I generally go about 5-6mm for the next stitch. So from where the thread comes through, about 5 or 6mm up. Turn it round, pull, repeat. And that's basically it until you get all the way around to the other side. Just give it a good pull. When you get through to the trim side, give it a good pull, and that pulls it in nice and tight, which it's a bit hard to see, which makes this nice and neat here. If you make it too loose, it doesn't look good at all. So just again, when you get through the trim side, you want to give it a good pull and tighten everything up. And then on the trim side, you can go wide, about 5mm or so. You don't have to measure it, just go by eye, of course. Push it through to the palm side, and then on the palm side, you always go fairly close. The stitching on the palm side is close, and then when you go through on the other side, you can take it wide. And then pull. That's where you put the pressure, when you come through from the palm side through the beading, through the trim. Sorry, I wish I had a better cameraman. Pull. Now obviously when you're doing a repalm, of course you've already got holes all along there, so you can use the same holes or you can make new holes, it doesn't matter. And now I've done about 5 stitches along here, and you can see I've gone a couple of inches already. And then if I fold the trim over, well, you can kind of see that's kind of what it would look like. And make the beading.